I got to my 6-year anniversary. I was fully back at work. I was back at the gym. I was pretty much back to most of my old routines. I was feeling pretty good. I went and had my scans, and I went to see my oncologist. He was so excited. I remember him saying, "We don't like to use the word cured, but 6 years is a big milestone. I'm really proud, and I'm really happy for you." And I was like, "Me too." And my husband and I were like, "Let's go out and celebrate." But before I left, I did say, "I have been getting these headaches." And he was like, asked me a little bit about him. And I said, "I'm sure I need new glasses." He said, "Go ahead and, talk to your GP about it. If you're still struggling with them after amount of time, come back." And in the coming weeks, things changed quite drastically.
You just heard a pivotal point in Nicole's journey. This was the first sign that her curative treatment had not been successful. This also meant that her lung cancer had not only returned, but entered the brain and was now considered stage 4. I'm Yvonne Diaz. I'm a co-founder of Oncogene Cancer Research and a fellow stage 4 lung cancer patient. Let's now hear from Nicole about how she's living with stage 4 lung cancer, also more about what happened once these headaches began. Patient Voices is proudly supported by sponsors who have no editorial control over the content. Nicole, tell us next.
I was having headaches, and they were like ocular headaches. They were a little bit painful at the time, but I would see like it would start off as a small blur that was like rainbowy, sort of oily looking, and then it would get bigger and bigger, and then it would just disappear. But they were happening pretty frequently. So I thought, okay, well, my scans are good, everything's great, so I don't need to worry about that. I'll go home and tell my GP, and I'll get new glasses. And so that's everything I did. I literally went out, got my eyes checked, got new glasses, went and got some physiotherapy on my neck because I really did think I'd pulled something. But over the next few weeks, it just got worse and worse and worse to the point where it was starting to become debilitating. So I finally called my GP, and she said, "Well, I'm sending you for a brain MRI." And I said, "Do I have to?" I said, "I just had scans and blood work done and everything was fine." And she said, "No." She said, "Because of your history, I just want to be on the safe side. Let's rule it out and then we'll move on from there." And I said, "Fine." So I went and had a brain MRI done. And I remember walking there with my husband and saying, "I'm okay. Like, this is just annoying. It's a waste of my time." And he's like, "You're doing great. You look great. You sound great. You're back at the gym. Everything's great. I don't think we have anything to worry about." So I really wasn't worried. And I went and had my brain MRI, and that was on a Friday. That was on March 25th of last year. So this is like 2, 3 weeks after my scans. And it was on a Friday. And I came home at night, and I was sitting in my bedroom with my cat doing something, and my phone rang, but it said no caller ID. And I never answer those calls, but it was like 8 p.m. at night, and I don't know why I answered the call. It was my oncologist, and I recognized his voice. And my immediate thought, because of knowing what he's like, was, "Oh, how nice. He's called me at 8 p.m. on a Friday night to tell me my scans are good so that I don't spend the whole weekend worrying." That's literally word for word what went through my brain. And I remember him saying, "Why did you go get the scan done?" And I told him, "Oh, I just had these headaches and I'm sorry," feeling like I being annoying. And after that, I don't remember very much. I remember he said, "I'm really sorry, but there's 3 tumors in your brain." And I don't remember everything of what happened. I was sitting on my bed. I remember hearing his voice, but I literally fell on the floor, crawled to my husband's. He was in his home office working on something, crawled on the floor to his room, was knocking on the door, and he opened the door, and I handed him the phone. And I remember telling my oncologist, "I can't talk to you right now. I can't hear anything. All I hear is muffled noise." And I gave the phone to my husband, and I just started wailing. Like, I was on the floor, like I couldn't hear. I don't know what happened, what my husband was saying to me, but I remember repeating over and over in my head, I'm done. Like, this is it. It's going to get me, isn't it?" And just crying and crying and crying. And I remember my husband saying, "Dionysus wants to talk to you." So I grabbed the phone and I was crying. And he kept saying, Nicole, I have a plan. We're going to eradicate this. And I was just like, okay, okay. I don't, it's like blurs in my brain, like something happening. And I went to bed that night. I don't know if I slept. They couriered steroids to me immediately. So I had to start a round of steroids at 10 p.m. that night. And he called me the next morning on a Saturday, and I was still very dazed. And I remember him checking on me saying, are you okay? I'm going to see you on Monday. You're coming in. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I was in a daze, Yvonne. Like, I don't, in my mind, I knew it had moved A to my brain, B, it was now incurable. I knew that. And I just didn't know how to think. I didn't know how to get my head around that. So yeah, that's where it all started. And then I had after that was appointments with specialist after specialist.
My God. Yeah. What a shock, because you had just gotten yourself to a place where things were good, right? The first round wasn't easy for you. All the treatment, recovering from that was a long road as well. And then now thinking I could finally move back on with my life, and this news, which so many of us, we know lung cancer can travel to the brain, but then having it go there is concerning. But thankfully there are lots of great things that can happen. So my goodness, yeah, it gives me chills just
Mm.
hearing you describe all that. I can imagine exactly those moments. So what happened next? So you, thankfully, like you said, you went back on Monday. Then I guess at some point you did have a treatment plan, and you began that.
Yeah, so I went and saw my oncologist that Monday, and I had appointments, I think, with two or three surgeons that week because surgery was an option. I also had gamma knife as an option, and they wanted to do a lumbar puncture. They had to pull fluid from my spine to test it, and that is quite expensive. And also, I had to battle with my insurance company, and eventually had to go somewhere else to get it covered. But I finally did get it covered. But they wanted to test to see if there was any tissue in there. So I had that done. I decided not to go for surgery, even though I really wanted it out. And I would have done it in a heartbeat. However, the one of the surgeons said to me that he said the only problem he said that he foresaw was that if I had any complications after the surgery whatsoever, even if it's a tiny complication that delays, because I'd still need gamma knife for the tissue that was surrounding the tumor. He said if you have any issues at all that delays it by even a week, it could be too late. And that took it off the table for me. So I had gamma knife done pretty quickly within a matter of just a couple of weeks. And I had that done on my head. And then that was 3 days of intensive and very targeted radiotherapy. After that, it was chemo. So I was back on carboplatin with I can never say it right. Pemetrexed. They
Trexit.
put me on two other types of chemotherapy again because basically even though very little of it can cross the blood-brain barrier, they wanted to make sure that I was as clear as possible from the neck down. So I had the gamma knife, and I responded really well to that, and I'm still on chemotherapy. I'm not on the carboplatin anymore, but I'm on the other chemo once a month right now. I had to get a port installed in my chest because my veins have started tapping out. And that's kind of where I am at the moment. And that's been going on for about a year.
Wow. Wow. That's so much, Nicole. But thankfully you had such an amazing team. From the sounds of it, you were able to consult all the different specialists, from surgeons to the folks doing the gamma knife and all of that. So that's so vital to being able to participate in this shared decision making that we do talk about. And then the chemo, obviously now you're back on chemo, a lumbar puncture. I think you were also hoping that it could potentially turn up some sort of biomarker. Was there anything new there? Did you already start to think about, now I'm stage 4, what does this mean? And I need to know a bit more.
Yeah, so the lumbar puncture was to see if like anything had mutated or anything had changed, or even just to confirm that it was the same cancer. It's assumed it's the same cancer, and even by the way I've responded to treatment, I'm certain it is. But yeah, there was no mutations, no more genetic markers. It's just it's spread. And my understanding is that sometimes with lung cancer, it's quite common for it to go to your brain. And I didn't realize at the time like how common that is. I don't think it would have changed anything, that knowledge. It still would have shown up there. Um, yeah, it definitely motivated me to learn more. Understanding stage 4 lung cancer, especially, has taken me quite some time to get my head around and to understand and to accept, really, not only understand my cancer better. I feel like I know it really, really well now. But also, it motivated me to kind of like to put myself out there a bit more with other people because I was like, I don't think I can do this by myself. Like, I was desperate to find other people in my situation or at least a similar situation who were doing well because I think the fact that there was no mutations in my cancer, it scared me a bit because everything I was saying is if you have a mutation in your lung cancer, your first line of treatment is targeted therapy. Last line of treatment is chemotherapy and radiotherapy. So in my mind, I felt a bit like, why don't I have a mutational driver? Like what's wrong? What's going on there? And I felt a bit isolated. I guess I still do feel a bit isolated in my experience because I don't see a lot of people out there like that.
You have started to share your story. And I think that is part of getting out there, being part of the community. There's a lot of hope in the community, connecting with the others. A young female with no smoking history, that normally means you see others who have biomarkers and it can be quite isolating. So I know you've been keen to share your story. Part of that,
Mm,
that's your motivation, right? How can we connect better and see those shared
yeah.
experiences?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has motivated to me too. And I honestly don't think at least psychologically, I don't know if I had been able to handle the last year as well. I mean, I've had my moments, don't get me wrong, more than I'd like to admit, but I don't think I would have handled it, I guess, with less fear than I initially had if I hadn't sought out other people's stories or tried to connect with other people and seen that, okay, well, these people are in treatment too. And they're still doing stuff and they're okay. Like this person made it. I saw somebody on social media who's had my same type of lung cancer with no mutations 14 years. And I cried when I saw that because that's the most I've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, that makes me feel really hopeful. There's a few things going on, even just with my own individual treatment and stuff that I feel hopeful about. But I definitely think putting myself out there a bit more and reaching out to people and talking to them has helped me considerably. Women are more prone to reaching out, I think, but I also think we're so used to like, you know what, we're just going to get on with it. We go to work in pain, we have our periods, we've got menopause, we've got all these things we go through, having children and childbirth, and we're still going to work. And so we're kind of used to like dealing with trauma and pain, physical and emotional pain, and we just get on with it. And that's kind of always been where my head's at. But with this time, I've kind of decided to step back a little bit and give myself some space to grieve, understand what was happening to me in a bit more depth, a bit more intimately, really, and to get to know other people. And I've found it really, really beneficial. And it's only been a year, and I'm still testing waters. I plan over the next year to do a bit more because I do think it's really important. I think hearing other people's stories and just having somebody to connect with because nobody really gets it the way we do. It doesn't even have to be somebody with lung cancer. It's anybody with cancer. Like we all face the same fears. We all have the same anxieties when it comes to appointments and scans. I think it's really important to connect with each other and understand each other and also get our stories out there so that hopefully people and doctors can learn from us because I feel like it doesn't have to be like this forever. It just doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true. I sometimes marvel about how connecting with other sick people can make it doesn't make sense, right? So we find and we bond with other patients, and you feel these bonds. So there's something really powerful there. That card you were referring to earlier, we do a monthly series with Young Lung where we call them our stories of hope. And it's so interesting doing this series because then we get requests like, can you please share a small cell lung cancer? Please share this one. Even people getting very treatment specific. Is there anyone on X drug? And you think, okay, it's a
Yeah.
challenge, but we'll try it. We'll try and get there because we love the whole idea. We all need that hope, and these stories
Yeah.
become guides for each other. So maybe one thing I would ask you now, being what all that you've gone through, this first part and the second part of your story now, what advice would you give to someone newly diagnosed, whether they're earlier stage or in the stage 4 setting? Like,
I am meeting people, and I've had a couple people who are younger than me and who are going through the same thing actually reach out to me, which I find was quite shocking. But I think the biggest thing that sticks with me is that something that I think that I know I myself really have struggled with, and I'm working on it, and I still struggle with it. But I think it's that is a big part of our lives, obviously, but it doesn't have to define us. We're not defined by our illness. We're not defined by cancer, and it's a really hard thing, I find anyway, to not do because it is such a big part of my life. Like it dictates my my calendar, my social calendar, my work calendar, like all kinds of things. It dictates a lot of my life, and but it doesn't identify. It doesn't have to define me, and I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned over the last year, and I'm still working on trying to find that balance.
that's wonderful. No, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's a brilliant answer. And I think it's so true. We're more than our cancer, yet somehow connecting with other people normalizes it in a way. And then we can also get on with the
Yeah.
other parts of our life, ideally, right? I don't think it ever quite goes away. Some people are able to put it down more than others, for others, they don't want to. So I think it's like
Yeah.
whatever
Oh,
works
for
for you,
sure.
really. So thank you. Thank you, Nichol, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much. Thank you.